Now first let's discuss about the features of condition precedent. There are four main characteristic features of condition precedent. First one, a condition precedent is one which must happen before the estate can vest. Second one, where the condition is precedent, the estate does not vest in the transferee until the condition is performed. Third one, in case of a condition precedent being or becoming impossible to be performed or being immoral or opposed to public policy, the transfer will be void. Fourth characteristic feature is a condition precedent is fulfilled if it is substantially complied with. That means if it cannot be fulfilled in total, substantial fulfillment may be allowed according to Doctrine Tsipras. Let us see these concepts in the subsequent sections. Now we have understood what is condition precedent. Now let's move on to how this condition precedent must be fulfilled. Where the terms of the transfer of property impose a condition to be fulfilled before a person can take an interest in the property, the condition is deemed to have been fulfilled if it has been substantially complied with. For example, A transfers rupees 5,000 to B on a condition that he shall marry with the consent of C, D and E. E dies. B marries with the consent of C and D. B is deemed to have fulfilled the condition. This is based on the doctrine of Tsipras. Section 26 lays down the important English doctrine of Tsipras. It enacts that when there is a condition precedent to the accrual of an interest, the condition is deemed to have been fulfilled if it has been substantially complied with. In case of condition precedent, subsequent fulfillment of condition is not sufficient compliance. Thus, we can see that in case under the doctrine of Tsipras, where the literal performance of the antecedent condition is rendered impossible for some reason or the other, substantial performance in conformity with the original intention of the transferor will suffice. Where the literal execution of the intention of the transfer becomes inexpedient or impracticable, the court will execute it. As we have seen in the example earlier, where A transfers 5,000 to B with the condition that B shall marry with the consent of C, D and E. Now, getting a consent from E is impossible because E is no more. B marries with the consent of C and D. Here under doctrine of Tsipras, we say that condition precedent has been substantially fulfilled. That means he has fulfilled the condition as practical as can be taken up by the court of law. Continuing with the concept of condition precedent, the another concept under condition precedent is that conditional transfer to one person coupled with transfer to another on failure of prior disposition, which is discussed in section 27, which is also called as doctrine of acceleration. This principle, which is enacted in section 27, says that when a transfer of property, in a transfer of property, an interest therein is created in favor of one person, and by the same transaction, an ulterior disposition of the same interest is made in favor of another. If the prior disposition under the transfer fails, the ulterior disposition takes effect upon the failure of the prior disposition, although the failure may not have occurred in the manner contemplated by the transferor. We can understand this concept with an illustration, where A transfers rupees 500 to B on condition that he shall execute a certain lease within 3 months after A's death, and if E should neglect to do so, rupees 500 shall go to C. Here B dies during the lifetime of A. the disposition in favor of C takes effect, because this depends upon again on the doctrine of acceleration. Now there is two conditions which are laid down. One is A transferring 500 to B, and the condition that he shall execute a certain lease within 3 months from the date of death of A. And if he doesn't do so, the right will be divested and will vest with an ulterior person C. Now in this example, B dies during the lifetime of A. So it becomes impossible for B to execute the lease deed. It is impossible. So in such circumstance, doctrine of acceleration is applied here, and C shall take the interest in rupees 500. That means the rupees 500 shall pass on to C. But where the intention of the parties to the transaction is that the ulterior disposition is to take effect only in the event of the prior disposition failing in a particular manner, the ulterior disposition will not take effect unless the prior disposition fails in that manner. For example, A transfers property to his wife, but in case she should die in his lifetime, property shall go on to B, that which he had transferred to her. A and his wife dies together under a circumstance which makes it impossible to prove that she died before A. The disposition in favor of B does not take effect because the condition while transferring the property was that it should fail in a particular manner. Here we cannot make out whether the condition failed in a particular manner. That means if the wife dies during the lifetime of A, only then the property would go on to B. So it is uncertain whether the wife died during the lifetime of A. Who dies first is unable to be traced. Hence, the disposition in favor of B does not take place. Till now we have discussed about condition precedent and its characteristics, and how it has to, how these conditions have to be fulfilled, and how doctrine of acceleration is